Good morning, Grove Park. Hope you are having a great day so far. It's real early, so some of you might still be asleep. Um, I was unable to do the Grove Park noon devotion last Thursday, and I had it all planned out. And so I thought I'd come on Tuesday to give you what I was going to talk about on Thursday, and that is it's summertime and Memorial Day is generally the kickoff for summer, although, this weekend we had summer temperatures then of 57 degrees. But I wanted to do something that I seem to do now every year around this time, and that is to talk about summer reading and to encourage you to read a variety of things. So here it is. I'll first start off with some books that I've already gone through, and then I'll get to some books, nice stack, that I hope to read sometime over summer. And I'm generally always reading about 3 or 4 books at one time, so don't get freaked out by my stack. And summer can go longer than just Labor Day. So anyway, enough talk. The books. This book is by Mark Kalansky. It's called The Big Oyster. I'm about halfway through it, but I've never read anything bad by Mark Kalansky. And he wrote a book called Salt, which is excellent if you ever have a chance to read it. And it's the history of salt. Well, this is the history of oysters, particularly New York City oysters, and how that has changed over time and how things have the impacts of the environment, anything. This goes all the way back to the first settlers. You'll learn some things about oysters you didn't know, I promise. But it's a fascinating book. This book is by Bessel van der Kolk, and it's called The Body Keeps the Score: Brain, Mind, and Body in the Healing of Trauma. This is an excellent book. I'll keep it up here. This is an excellent book because we all face traumas, and the impacts of trauma and the long-term impacts of trauma we don't often think about. And so this is a study in that, and it's not overly scientific. It's written for a layperson's perspective. It's been on the New York Times bestseller list forever. But it is an excellent book. If you want another critique of it, if you'll let me know, there's a member of our church who read it around the same time that I did. So this is a work of fiction, and as you know, I don't read a lot of fiction. But this is an alternative history, so it's like science fiction, and it's called The Plot Against America by Philip Roth. Philip Roth is one of the great novelist of, I should keep this up, one of the great novelists of the last half into the first half of the 20th and 21st centuries in America. It's a fascinating exploration of all sorts of things. And so it is at times harsh. It was actually turned into either a movie or a miniseries on HBO. I can't recall. So it is kind of, hard hitting at times, but it's in the same line as It Can Happen Here by Sinclair Lewis back in the 30s. So there's that. This book is Silent Spring Revolution. John Kennedy, Lyndon Johnson, Rachel Carson, and Richard Nixon, and the Great Environmental Awakening. This is a book I got for Christmas this past year. I recently just finished it. You need to read this book. It's big. And you can see I have got it well marked. I did it this way, unlike my normal methods, because I just knew it was going to have a lot in it, and it did. And beloved, the things that you will learn are shocking and surprising in this book. But it is a wonderful, if you like the outdoors, you need to read this book. It's the last in Doug Brinkley's trilogy of conservationists in the White House. He's got two others, one on Theodore Roosevelt, one on FDR. This is an excellent book, and I would highly, highly, highly recommend you running out right now and getting it. In that same vein is Last Hope Island by Lynn Olson. I don't know if I've ever recommended this one before, but there's a lot you can learn about how to be church from this book, and it's about how Britain welcomed in all the governments of occupied Europe and how it went and with these governments worked to win the war against fascism in continental Europe during the World War II. But it is, oh my gosh, this is such a good book. And when I read it a few years back, I could not put it down. I can't remember if I've ever recommended it before. But if I haven't, this is your summer to read it. It is fantastic. Now, there's a lot of discussion these days about what is a Baptist. And a lot of Baptists, I think, have forgotten our historical backgrounds. And so this book is by Walter Sheridan. It's called The Baptist Identity, 4 Fragile Freedoms. It is a look at what Baptists historically have said they believe. And so I would encourage you to read this. It's Bible freedom, soul freedom, church freedom, and religious freedom. And you may learn some things in this, but I highly, highly, highly recommend you reading it. It's very good. In fact, I recommended it to our diaconate recently. This book is called A God-Sized Vision. It's by Colin Hanson and John Woodbridge, and it is a history of revivals across the world and here in the United States. It tells a wonderful story of the prayer meeting revival of the 1850s. But if you want something that'll just encourage you and help you to see that, things can change and they can change rapidly, this is your book. So I'd encourage you to read that. And of course, I've spent the better part of the last few months writing on grief, and will continue to be doing that as part of my doctoral work. I'm going to recommend to you a book I read several years ago. It is not in any way faith-based, but it's by Joan Didion, and it's called The Year of Magical Thinking. And it's her walk through grief. And I have recommended this to folks again and again and again and again and again. And so it's just wonderful. It is just wonderful. And I would encourage you to read that. Scholarly, faith-based perspective, sort of faith-based perspective, is by, I think he's Lutheran. My memory is correct. Yes, he's an ordained Lutheran minister. Reverend Dr. Kenneth J. Doika, Grief is a Journey. It talks about all the things that you and I heard about during the grief series back during Epiphany. But it is just an excellent, excellent book. And I would highly, highly, highly recommend you reading it. It's helped me in my thought processes about grief this past year. And so those are the books that I have read. Now for the books I'm going to work on. And this is just me saying, hey, I'm checking these books out. Maybe you want to too. The first one is by John Markey. It's called Moses in Pharaoh's House, a Liberation Spirituality for North America. I'm going to be doing work on Moses for Sunday morning, beginning in late summer, and it'll take us on into the fall. We're going to walk with Moses for a while. So this is part of my reading for that. Can't say how good it is because I hadn't read it yet, but nevertheless, that's what I'm working on this summer. I've got some grief books in this list. This one in particular and it's called Imagining the End, Mourning an Ethical Life by Jonathan Lear. It was a highly recommended book at the end of last year. And so it's from a non-faith-based perspective, but a very moral perspective. And so I'm looking forward to that. As many of you know, I am going on sabbatical this summer. And so I'm reading some things on exhaustion and burnout. And several of these next books are in that line of thought. Can't Even, How Millennials Became the Burnout Generation by Anne Helen Peterson is one of the books that I'm going to be reading. And it talks about, I'm right on the edge between Gen X and millennials. And so this is going to be a fascinating read, I think, to walk through. Wintering, The Power of Rest and Retreat in Difficult Times is by Catherine May. And I've heard very good things about this book, so I'm looking forward to reading it. Two works of fiction. One is A Burnout Case by Graham Greene. The other one is The Diary of a Country Priest by George Bernays. I have tried to read this book many times before, and I never can seem to find the time to finish it. And so I am working to that end. But I'm very anxious on this, and Graham Greene is Graham Greene, and he's just a great author. This June I celebrate 20 years of ordained ministry, and things have changed a lot during that time. So one of the books I'm going to be reading this summer is called Canoeing the Mountains: Christian Leadership in Uncharted Territory by Todd Bolsinger. And it basically is a book about, well, you know what? Things have changed. How do we navigate? Now, for the last little bit, and I'm trying to go fast, so thank you for sticking with me. These last books are just, some of these are exploration books on things. One is on the environment. The Human Age, The World Shaped by Us by Diane Ackerman. We now live in what's known as the Anthropocene age. And we're the one that created. All the other ages of human history have generally been created by, in regards to the environment has created it. This is the one we created. So I'm interested on that. How the Other Half Eats, The Untold Story of Food and Inequality in America by Priya Fielding Singh. As I continue to strive to learn more about food insecurity and how to address it, I'm going to be reading that. Dealing with the plight of the prisoner, Let the Lord Sort Him Out: The Rise and Fall of the Death Penalty by Maurice Chama. This proves to be, I think, a very interesting read. I'm looking forward to it. And finally, the last two books. One is about our political environment and what's going on in it. It's by Arlie Russell Hochschild. It's called Strangers in Their Own Land. And then this last book is one that I've been working on, and it is, I've picked at it. I've gone back and forth and read different things. And so I'm going to just read the whole thing, get the whole thing read. But it's a book that has been on a lot of the banned book list, and I can't quite understand why. So I'm going to read it to see if it is what folks have claimed it to be. And so the title of this book is Cast: The Origins of Our Discontents by Isabel Wilkerson. And it's about racism in America. And so that's all. That's summer reading. If you have a book that you think, hey, Mark, you might be interested in this, send me a note. If you read one of these books, even better, let me know. Just so that I can talk to you about it and maybe gain some more insights from them about you. And about them. So just read, beloved. Read. I leave you with this quote from Harry Truman. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. Give you that again. Not all readers are leaders, but all leaders are readers. And if we're going to lead our society, beloved, and have an impact in it, we better be reading. So, enjoy, and I will see you all later. Until then, take care, and remember, grace abounds. Blessings to you.